Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface on the Alpha for Battle for Azeroth, and going back to do some class change videos. Today we're going to have a look at Survival Hunter. Now, Survival Hunter was changed rather drastically in Legion as it was converted to a melee class. Now, this was a substantial change to the class who, once upon a time, did own themselves a melee weapon and participate in a little bit, tinsy-wincy bit, of melee combat. But now, I think it's fair to say, as we bring the sea scrog over, that the whole damn thing is actually built up of doing melee attacks. There's no other way about it. If you want to disengage, which is a talent, and get away, sure, but there's nothing really that you can do apart from chuck the old hatchet at your enemy before getting back into action with, let's say, harpoon, dragging you to the actual target itself. Whee! Now, this is what the current talent tree for survival looks like. But if I flip over to the alpha for Battle for Azeroth, you can see that there are substantial changes to this spec. And one of the biggest things that has actually happened to the Survival Hunter is it's now become a hybrid spec, in as much as you can both range DPS and melee DPS. And obviously you're going to get the best out if you do both together. Leaping in after doing possibly some range stuff, bang, 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 possibly jumping back out in case it looks like you're going to get into trouble, pew, pew, pew. Well, okay, maybe my descriptions aren't the best, so let's see it in action. Now, please, I am not a hunter by trade. That was not meant to be any sort of specific rotation in that piece of combat. I was literally showing you how the class itself has, to be perfectly honest with you, unbelievable flexibility in combat, allowing you to use ranged abilities, leap in, do some rather devastating melee abilities, leap out, continue with your ranged abilities, also allow your pet to take over the brunt of the melee work while you're at range as well, and also some big cooldowns that you can pop where you and your pet can absolutely savage the creature. So we're going to go all through that now. You've seen it in action, and you'll see some more later on, but I want to show you how that segment was actually pieced together. But before I go through the actual talents itself, I think we do need to have a look at the actual front page of the survival spec, because you will see the return of some abilities as well as a new one as well, plus a couple of ones which are remaining. So first of all, Raptor Strike and Harpoons still remain as part of the rotation. Raptor Strike being your melee, and your Harpoon allowing you to close the distance from range to get into that melee area. But you've also got Wild Bombs now. And Wild Bombs is a ranged ability that you throw, explodes, plus does some additional fire damage afterwards. However, this is my Wild Bombs. I've actually used a spec on the talent tree to change and make it even more versatile, which you'll see soon enough. Kill Command comes back into the spec. As you could see in that little bit of footage, there was a lot of Kill Command procs being used. That was actually me working alongside my Wild Bombs. and I think some people like this rather a lot, Serpent Sting comes back as an active ability and not the passive that it is in Legion. Active ability, 40-yard range, uses focus, about 20 focus, and then you do your nature damage, plus you have X amount of additional damage as well. So I think people are going to like that. And that Serpent Sting is what predominantly, alongside the wild bombs, allows you to still do very decent damage from range, but it's when you zap back in to get to the melee area that it can really bang, do some rather explosive stuff. So now let's get to the juicy part. Let's get to the talent tree. Now, this isn't necessarily the best spec by any stretch of the imagination. I've just built a spec based around what I think is fun for my own personal playstyle. I would love to think that's how a lot of people base their specs. No, cookie cutter? Right, fine. So, when we go through the talents, you can decide which one you think are probably going to work the best for you and obviously adjust accordingly. But everything's really changed here. So first up, we've got Viper's Venom. Passive ability, Raptor Strike has a chance to make your next Serpent Sting cost no focus and deal an additional 300% initial damage. Now, this, of course, is encouraging you to get back into melee range. So if you stuck back and were just using your Serpent Stings and your Wildfire Bombs while you're pummeling your enemy, you ain't going to get this. So this isn't going to be the spec for you. So this talent here is actively asking you to make sure that you're going into melee range as well as obviously using the ranged abilities too. Terms of engagement, passive ability again. Harpoon deals X amount of physical damage and generates 40 focus over 10 seconds. Killing an enemy will reset the cooldown of Harpoon. Good focus generation. Obviously, there's a lot of focus dumps with this spec, so anything that can generate your focus back is always good. Decent bit of early damage, I must say, to come in for a bit of a wallop there. So it's a nice talent. Again, you've got a good choice here. And then Alpha Predator. Kill Command now has 2 charges and deals 30% increased damage. This, again, could work very well with Wildfire Infusion. Little sneak peek, which we'll get to later. So for me, it was really a toss-up between Viper's Venom and Alpha Predator. But to be honest with you, I could have gone for term. I could have gone with this as well. I ended up going with Viper's Venom. It could easily change. Next row, we've got Guerilla Tactics, passive ability. Wildfire Bombs now has 2 charges. Only has 1 charge by default. So those 2 charges you can see are because of Guerilla Tactics. And the initial explosion deals 100% increased damage. Now, the reason why, again, I went with Guerilla Tactics is because of Wildfire Infusion and how cool that sounds, which we'll get to later on. Next up, we've got Hydra's Bite, passive ability. Serpent Sting fires arrows at 2 additional enemies near to your target, and its damage over time is increased by 30%. So that's actually pretty good for a ranged AoE. If you've got a few mobs and you don't want to get into a melee scuffle with them, you can back up, use this with your Serpent Sting. Good ranged AoE. And then Butchery can be back. If you want Butchery back, it's a Legion ability that we have now. Requires 2-handed melee weapon, so this is obviously close up and personal. Strikes all nearby enemies with a flurry of strikes, inflicting X amount of physical damage. Has 3 charges. So that will get your AoE melee going. So this is if you want to be more of a melee playstyle. And one of the things that you will find out about this spec as we go through the rest of the talents, it really does encourage, to be quite honest with you, lots of different playstyles. I like to bounce in and bounce out because I'm a very hyperactive player. So I like to use my ranged abilities. I like to jump in for some melee twatting, and then I like to bounce back out again. So it can do that. You can build a more rangey as opposed to melee one because of the kill command and kill command procs that you can get. Again, Wild Infusion. Or with things like Butchery, etc., terms of engagement, you can start to build more of a melee-based operation too, with your Harpoon bringing you into melee, smacking a target, and then build it around there. Next up, Trailblazer. Your movement speed is increased by 30% anytime you've not attacked for 3 seconds. So I do like to have a lot of maneuverability where possible. Natural Mending. Every 20 focus you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on your Exhilaration. Exhilaration's still there for everybody. And then you have Camouflage. 1 minute cooldown. You and your pet blend in the surroundings. Camouflage, standard ability. You should, pretty much all know about that. Disengage, of course, has gone from here because Disengage is now back to a regular ability, which is very nice to see. To actually have to talent into Disengage, I think that ticked off a lot of hunters, so it's really nice to see Disengage just back as a standard spell. Always should have been. Not going to offend Blizz on that one at all. Next row, Bloodseeker, passive ability. Kill command causes a target to bleed for X amount of damage over 8 seconds, and you and your pet gain 10% attack speed for every bleeding enemy within 12 yards. So that's a good way to have a bit of synergistic relationship with your pet there. It's bleeding, you're dealing more damage, whoop-de-doo. Steel Trap, if you want to go down this route. Instant 30-second cooldown, heals a steel trap at the target location. Snapshot, deals bleed damage over 30 seconds. Additional damage, of course, would break the trap. Nice way of rooting an enemy, plus doing damage without it being able to do anything about it. Then Murder of Crows is on the 60 rank. Summon a flock of crows to attack your target for X amount of physical damage over 15 seconds. If the target dies, resets. Standard stuff you know about Murder of Crows. So again, it's all about how you want to, what active play style you want. That's a little bit more defensive. Bloodseeker obviously is allowing your pet to do more increased damage. And for me, the reason why I personally chose this again, you'll see when we get to this. So I'm literally basing my spec around this, but that's the way we go. 75 ranked talents, Born to be Wild. Passive ability, the cooldowns of aspect of the eagle, cheetah, and turtle reduced by 20%. Post haste, disengage also frees you from movement impairing effects and increases your speed by 50% for 4 seconds. Again, standard stuff. And binding shot, again, standard stuff for a hunter. So it's really which one suits your play style the most. Do you want to have some sort of CC with the binding shot? Do you want to have more maneuverability? My spec is based about bouncing in and bouncing out. That's why I want more maneuverability. Post-haste, Trailblazer kind of working together for me there. And Born to be Wild is more of a, whether or not you want to have quicker access to your aspects. So it's how you play, really, for that one. The level 90 row, we have Tip of the Spear. Passive, kill command increases the damage of your next Raptor Strike by 15%, stacking up to 3 times. So again, this is encouraging being in melee. With my playstyle, I didn't want to go with that. That's why I chose not to myself. You can have Mongoose Bite, but it will replace Raptor Strike. So Mongoose Bite, which is currently on the spec in Legion, it will replace Raptor Strike here. 30 focus, requires your two-handed melee weapon. Dun dun dun. A brutal attack deals X amount of physical damage and grants you Mongoose Fury. So the standard stuff and the Mongoose Fury increases the damage by Mongoose Bite by 20% for 14 seconds. Stacking up to 5 times. Can't use it successively if you want to stack. So you've got to use it, use another ability, use it, another ability, use it, another ability, use it, another ability, use it, to get your 5 stacks with Mongoose Bite, standard stuff. And then Flanking Strike, because to me, this works very nicely with my in-out, put the kettle on style of bang bang. 15-yard range, 40-second cooldown, you and your pet leap to the target and strike it as one, dealing a total of X amount of physical damage, plus generates 30 focus for you and your pet. So this is my focus generation ability that I'm looking at here. 40-second cooldown. This allows me to be at range and jump in with my pet, dealing pretty nasty damage. And then, once you've kind of used Flanking Strike, you can really sort of combine it here with Coordinated Assault. 2-minute cooldown. This is your big one. Now, I'm using a tanking pet, if I was using a damage pet, you can actually have your hero and what's it called, Bloodlust back as well. So my god, you could wreck it here. But yeah, Coordinated Assault, you and your pet attack as one, increasing all damage you both deal by 20% for 20 seconds. And while Coordinated Assault is active, Kill Command's chance to reset is increased by 25%. And if we have a look at Kill Command as is now, it has a 20% chance to immediately reset its cooldown. So with Coordinated Assault, it's a 50% chance to immediately reset its cooldown. And the reason why I wanted to show you Coordinated Assault right now is because, again, on this next rank, on the final rank, you're going to see how it can be altered. Birds of Prey. Raptor striking your pet's target extends the duration of Coordinated Assault by 1 second. And of course, when you're using Coordinated Assault, you are meleeing. That is when you are bang, bang, bang melee. Or at least you should be. So this is a toughie for me because Birds of Prey is very attractive because Coordinated Assault lasts for 20 seconds. And with Raptor Strike just working off focus, you know, you can get a few seconds of additional Coordinated Assault there, which will deal some pretty tasty damage to the target. But my whole spec is built around this, which is Wildfire Infusion, where you lace your Wildfire Bombs with extra regions, randomly giving it one of the following properties each time you throw it. That's why I went with the 2 charges of it and all that kind of stuff. So one of them is Shrapnel Bomb. This is the one that we can see right there. Shrapnel Bomb pierces the target, causing Raptor Strike and Butchery to apply a bleed for 9 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So with Shrapnel Bomb, you really want to be following up, which I didn't do in the footage, by the way. But with Shrapnel Bomb, you really want to be following it up with probably Harpoon, Raptor Strike, and if you want to bounce in and out, maybe jump out of dodge then. You there have the Pheromone Bomb. Kill Command has a 100% chance to reset against targets coated with pheromones. So if you're using the Pheromone one, it's literally spamming Kill Command. So you're spamming that Kill Command. You would have seen it on the footage that I showed earlier. You have the things that come up at the side, like tear marks. That is your Kill Command prompt. And it's literally just hit, 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 hit while it's active. And then finally, you've got the Volatile Bomb. Reacts violently with poison, causing an extra explosion against the enemies suffering from your Serpent Sting. And refreshes your Serpent Stings. Which is rather nice. So again, if you utilize that towards the end of a Serpent Sting cycle, it would just immediately reset it, plus causing some decent amount of damage as well. And then finally, we have Chakrams, which was a very popular ability for a lot of hunters back in there. Got removed for a long time and got nerfed and stuff like that. It's back. 30 focus, instant, 40-yard range, 20-second cooldown. Easy for me to say. Throw a pair of chakrams at your target, slicing all enemies in the chakram's path for X amount of physical damage. The chakrams will return to you, damaging enemies again. And your primary target takes 100% increased damage. Obviously, this is a ranged ability as well, so you could bring this in to your range rotation if you want to really have that ultra hybrid spec of being at range and also jumping into melee too. So, there's been a lot of talking. Why don't we just see a little bit more action? as the sun starts to rise over the zone of Voldoom, I've got to say that Survival Hunter isn't just flexible and versatile. Its damage, currently based off other classes in the alpha, is pretty damn devastating. And now, of course, things will be brought back into line and everything is subject to change, of course. But its attacks, the way that it can nip in, nip out, you can feign death at range, pushing all the threat back onto your pet. You can use kill command and get instant kill command procs. You can keep it poisoned, keep it blown up. So much versatility in this spec. It's really exciting. It's very fast, furious. It's awesome. If you're into survival hunting and you like your melee abilities with your hunters, you're going to get the added benefit of the hybrid coming in with the range going into the program too. So hunters with survival, I think you're in a very, very good spot come battle for Azeroth. And I hope you've enjoyed the vid. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel, clicking the bell in the process so you absolutely make sure you get notifications when I release videos. On top of that, my social media and Twitch for live streaming is down there in the description box below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.